December 24th, 1968. The Apollo 8 mission shot this photo by accident on the way returning to Earth from the moon. They were doing a rotation and accidentally caught this photo. We went to the moon and discovered Earth. This image was a picture of the Earth catalog for well over 10 years. And I believe this was the first time that we saw Earth as nature intended us to see it. Without nations, without borders, without countries, but as one living planet. Shortly after this image was released by NASA, global thinking and action began to emerge throughout the whole world. 1970, the Comprehensive Clean Air Act was passed. Earth Day was born. The Environmental Protection Agency was founded. 1971, the Clean Water Act was passed. Doctors Without Borders. Who even thought about that? Doctors Without Borders. We'd never thought of ourselves of anything else but countries, nations, and individuals instead of one collective whole. The Endangered Species Act was passed. 1972, DDT insecticide was banned. 1973, the catalytic converter was invented. Campus unrest and protests were all over the world because America was still at war. And the unleaded gas was created. Humanity began reacting to this new global perspective, this new global view that we're all on the same spaceship, all on the same Earth, that we're all in this together, not individual countries, cultures, races, that we're in it together. Just a reminder, the technology and innovation used to go to the moon was less than we all carry around in our pocket. The smartphones that we have now are 10 times as powerful, have more computing power, have more innovation, more technology than they used to take Apollo 8 to the moon. Other thing that is important to remember, at this time, America was at war, but also they were in fear because not just America, the world was at fear that the Soviets would gain high ground with the Sputnik rocket. And so the real reason we were going to the moon was because of fear. Basically, there's an international conservation video. It was done by Julia Roberts. It's entitled Nature. I would suggest you watch it. I was going to show it to you. Basically, it explains how we're reliant upon nature and not the other way around. That we really need nature, and nature does not need humanity. And it's important to realize that nature will go on regardless of how much we pollute, what we do, what innovations we have, what technologies we use. Nature will continue. It was continued before us and it will continue after us. But I'm an optimist and believe that through innovation and through technology that we will adapt and evolve with nature. And let me tell you why I'm optimistic. In 2015, the Earth experienced some pivotal happenings. And I want to give you just a few of them. First of all, it started out with extreme conditions all around the world. We had the hottest months on record, extreme flooding, major droughts, and polar caps were melting. And I guess based upon that, I would have to say that climate reality and Al Gore were not so wrong after all. Leonardo DiCaprio addressed the United Nations. He donated $15 million to climate change. He also just recently won an Academy Award where he promoted climate change in his award ceremony. 32 million people on Earth in 2015 were displaced because of climate change. Not just Syria, all over the world. 32 million. The World Expo in Milan, Italy had the theme, Feeding the World, Feeding the World, Energy for Life. Feeding the Planet, Energy for Life. 184 days celebrating only food and energy, the World Expo. Another pinnacle event was on November 29th, the Breakthrough Energy Coalition was founded by 20 billionaires, including Marc Zuckerberg and Bill Gates. November COP21, the Conference of the Parties 21, was in Paris, and the world finally came together and agreed on a roadmap for the future. November, Volkswagen was caught with 11 million affected vehicles that cheated on emissions. NASA receives $19.3 billion in a final budget for 2016, and the privatization of the space race, the new space race, begins. Elon Musk with SpaceX, Virgin Galactic with Sir Richard Branson, Blue Origin with Jeff Bezos. Private companies are jumping into the space race. Why is this important? This next slide shows the last thing that happened in 2015. No. Now, December 2015, the lunar orbiter shows this new Earthrise photo. Again, we are all in this together, and things are happening. What does this mean? We are entering into a new race for our home, our Earth, our future of humanity, entering into the global era of sustainability. What are we racing against? Well, we have researched and taken a global view of what we believe to be the fundamental problems affecting us now and the quality of life in the future. It is climate change in all its many facets that are compounding this problem. Energy, resources, health, and waste are all parts contributing to the whole of this issue. We have removed the blinders and are addressing 6 global grand challenges. There are many more global grand challenges, by the way, as one complete system together. That is energy, food, environment, health, water, and disaster resilience, to be exact. We looked at the Earth as a whole and asked the question, what are the largest impacts on climate change? Where are they coming from? And what are the many factors that contribute to this problem? Time and time again, it doesn't matter what research, what data we've looked at, the answer, the data and analysis show that the food and beverage industry is the largest contributor by far for this climate change problem. In 2015, KPMG and many other companies released data showing that this issue is clear and unbalanced. On this particular slide is a report from the food and beverage industry, which is highlighted in blue and red. There's electricity in the food producers. We see that they have an EBITDA of $89 billion with a percentage of environmental cost at a percentage of EBITDA at 224%. You can see the imbalance, and this is just one example of many studies throughout the world. As Peter Diamandis has once said, I don't know if you're familiar with him, singularity, bold, many other things. The world's biggest problems are also the world's biggest business opportunities. We are well aware of the opportunities, but are in this for better solutions for our future. We've been through the first industrial revolution, we've been through the second industrial revolution, we are now entering a new revolution, the third industrial revolution, which is the global era of sustainability. This is a portion of what we call the Gaussian curve, or the S-curve, and it's important to see because this is how everything goes throughout any decisions we have. We have innovators, early adapters, early majority, late majority, and skeptics. But then we have another curve, it's called the exponential growth curve for innovation and technology. It is doubling every so many years and is growing enormous. The problem is, as humanity, we have technology and innovation that has been invented 10, 20, 30 years ago that are still not being applied today that could give us solutions to what we have. Submarines have had desalinization, there's been water innovations, there's been innovations in food and food processing. All these technologies have not been innovated or not been applied in the food and beverage industry to 100%. In the food and beverage industry, we're still in the industrial age. A process, and the reason I wanted to show you this Gaussian curve and the S-curve is because it's important to know how we grow and how we leap. There's 0.2, 2.0, 0.3.0, 4.0, and so on. And it's important to know how this life cycle of diffusion and innovation works. As I mentioned before, we've created a complete picture that uses renewable energy, recycling, no CO2 emissions, water recycling, energy management, and waste management. That we have vertical farming, and we actually have a backup for our power. It is a cradle-to-cradle system and a circular economy system. It uses the organic circle and the technical circle in all things to find solutions, a complete solution in food and beverage production. Basically, I'm running out of time here, I'm well over, but what the big point is, why is Marc telling us this, is that we get too specific in certain areas or arenas with our thoughts and our processes of why we are doing things, and we need to have a global view, an Earth's perspective that addresses all the problems. In this industry, there are many that address one problem: solar, wind. They use water recycling, they have power management, they have clean and process technologies, but they're not using all of them in one complete system, letting things flow in and out that are recyclable. They're not recycling gray water, they're not recycling their clean and process water, they're not recycling black water, and they're not recycling rainwater. They're not using sustainable and recyclable packaging. There are many aspects, not just a few, and this is a global perspective, and my wish to you is to go back to your companies, to your time, to your lives, and take the global view of how can you apply all these things in one in your company. I'd love to speak to you further about specific technologies and innovations that are available to do this. Thank you for your time.